Hi, this is Praios and I'm a professional gambler. And yeah, sorry for the short delay. But yeah, now we can start, I guess. The topic of today will be the reality of playing poker professionally. And yeah, remember, you can only see me live on Twitch, and there you can also ask questions, all the good stuff. And yeah, if you watch this later on YouTube, you can still ask me questions, but this will be in the comments and I will not answer immediately, but I will come to most of the commentary. And yeah, if you're on YouTube, do all the healthy, good YouTube stuff like liking, subscribing and all that stuff. And yeah, this also matches the topic of the last video I did, which was also about problems of professional gamblers, which nobody knows about. And yeah, I found this video of Poker Bounty. He usually does very good videos. I expect this one to be good as well. But yeah, let's jump into it. Let's see what he has to say. And then I will also give my commentary to the things said. And yeah, maybe we will get an interesting video. Let's find out. Better intro than mine, for sure. He even has a sponsor.
When most people think about professional...
What was this? Poker is a job you can put your heart and soul into and still lose money. Yeah, so true.
When most people think about professional poker players, they picture someone sitting at a casino, making tons of cash playing a recreational card game. The reality can be described using the famous quote that a lot of us in this business use to describe our jobs. It's a hard way to make an easy living.
Very, very good quote. I wonder who said that. But yeah, very, very good. And yeah, also, yeah, it's just true.
The question aspiring poker pros ask most is, how much do professional poker players make at the tables? Can a person live on a poker pro's salary? Like everything else in poker, it depends. The truth is...
Yeah, salary sounds like a regular job, and as if you would get a payment, a regular one, and the same amount every month. But yeah, the truth is the swings are just crazy. I mean, you could lose for like 3 months in a row and then make it all back in the next months and stuff like that. So yeah, it's just crazy, the swings, and yeah, and the emotional stuff you're going through.
That about 1% of those that become professional poker players actually become successful. Even then, some still go through the period where they are broke or living on meager means. One thing you should understand is that making a living by playing poker means accepting that this type of activity is a job at which you have to perform exceptionally well to earn your wage.
Yeah, it's also not that you are like a normal employee. Like, I would also not say that this is a wage. I would more describe it as an income, and you are like self-employed, and yeah, you can do very well with your company, and you can do the opposite. And yeah, as poker is a zero-sum game, actually it's not, as there's also the rake, and the rake actually is quite high on the lower stakes, and on some sides, GG, the rake also is extremely high on higher stakes. And so you have not only the opponents at the tables, but also another beast that you got to beat in order to be profitable, and that's the rake. And yeah, this rake is also extremely high, especially on GG poker. And yeah, this is extremely difficult, and only a very small portion of the poker players can do that.
Therefore, if you consider it just as an interesting pastime, you might earn some and lose some, but you'll not be able to make a living out of it. As soon as you understand that you have...
By the way, I'm not sure if I would consider Isildur a professional poker player, because he lacks some of the most important skills. No bankroll management. He's also not having a game selection that makes sense. I mean, it actually doesn't seem as if he wants money, but he might just be a degen gambler, because he was basically playing everyone, the toughest opponents, and if he got a good in one game, then he just moved to another game where he had no clue about and which he learned on the fly or something. So yeah, he could be having way more money when he would do it conservatively and treat it more like a business, for sure.
To devote your time, energy, and money to it, you are on the right track to become a professional poker player. Another issue that professional poker players have to deal with is the fact that they generally don't get much respect for the profession from the general public.
Yeah, that's very true. You will not be respected from, let's say, normal people who have like a normal life. You will just be a degen. And yeah, I also talked about that in another video of mine. I highly recommend to watch this. You can find it on YouTube. It's, what is it called? I think something like hard problems poker players face, but nobody knows about. So like you will be having trouble getting a flat and a bank account and other stuff. So watch the video if you are interested in that.
Most parents are horrified when their child tells them that they're quitting their job or school to become a professional poker player.
Yeah, my parents were the same. Actually, they are still asking when I will go solid and get a normal job. Although this is absolutely bad idea from a financial standpoint, because I would make a lot less than I do at the moment.
The truth, however, is that whatever you might think about the morality of taking money from weaker players at the poker table, no one can question the amount of hard work and intelligence it takes to become an elite poker player. The general consensus among people familiar with both high-stakes poker is that it takes more intelligence and acquisition of knowledge. Then,
it also, what people underestimate, it takes a lot of grind. It's not that you are doing a lot of party and having fun and been playing. This is just a very sick grind. Many people just sitting in front of their computer for like 6, 8, 10 hours straight, playing a high amount of tables and just grinding. And this is, you are like a robot, and this is not fun anymore. It's just like a 9 to 7 job.
You can maybe become a winner in high-stake poker cash games. In the early days of online poker, a fortune could be made with very little poker experience and knowledge.
Yeah, that's true. In the beginning, it was very easy, but as in all businesses, let's call it business, where it's very easy to make money, the sharks will come in and it will become harder and harder and harder. And now it's at a point where it's very hard to succeed and make decent money. And yeah, amounts that were possible not long ago are far, far away from being earned nowadays. I mean, these stakes that used to run back in the day are not running anymore. You have to size down like by tenfold or something nowadays. So if I could make, let's say a very good player made back in the day like 7 figures or something in a year, and now it's maybe 6 figures, and then you also have to be a top guy. And yeah, very, very few people can make 7 figures, and this also involves an amount of risk that I would not be willing to take anymore. I mean, the GG high stakes, you have swings that are just incredible.
But these days,
and not everyone gets a fish, Daniel Negreanu, to play against him and yeah, donate him $1 million or whatever it was. Yeah, I'm talking about Doc Polt versus Daniel Negreanu, if you wonder.
It takes an incredible amount of hard work and natural ability to make a living playing any form of poker. For those who do have what it takes and who put in the time and effort needed to become a successful player, the reward is a job with practically unlimited freedom.
Yeah, and it's also not, he's like, as if it's just intelligence and hard work, but that's not true. You also, these are also things which are not talked about very often, but that you need and that are as important, like emotional skills. If you tilt, if you can't handle downswings or bad beats well, your intelligence is not important. You will just not make it. And what else? I think there was another point I wanted to make, but forgot it. The other thing was you need to be game selecting, because if you are the second best guy in the world and you constantly play against the first best, you will eventually lose all your money. So you have to game select, and it's not just be about I want to compete against everybody. No, that's not the way to do it if you want to make money. Find people who are weaker than you.
Top professional poker players can easily make about $5 million per year playing poker. Only a handful of players are capable of pulling.
I wonder where he got this number from, because this seems way too high.
Off results like these though.
I also wonder if he's talking about cash, about tournaments, or what he's talking about. I mean, that should be more specific. I think he just took a random number and said it.
These players know the math better than anyone, they're feared at the tables, and read any situation exceptionally well. Players at this level include Daniel Negreanu, Tom Dwan, Patrick Antonius, Phil Ivey, and many more.
I wonder, I think this video is just 1 year old, and he mentions people that, I mean, it's already doubtful that these guys were good back in the day. I mean, even like 5 or 10 years ago, I loved to play against most of these guys. I never thought that any one of these is a top pro or anything. I mean, take Tom Dwan, he's like terrible. I remember an epic session on Full Tilt, very high stakes. What was it? We had like these in-between crazy stakes where you could buy in for like 250 BB. So it was like 75, 150, and he also moved up in stakes all the time. And I was playing 3 tables or 4 tables, 6 max against him, having insane swings. I was also buying in for the minimum always because I didn't want to have these crazy swings, but it was like more than 100k down, and then I made it all back and was even in the green. And yeah, Tom Dwan just is not a good player. I think to save his honor a bit, I think in heads up he's playing his heads up style in 6 max as well, so that's definitely not good. And I also think he improved a lot over the days. If I see videos of him nowadays, he seems to be reasonable, but back in the day he was very bad. And the other guy mentioned also are not good and never were any of the top online pros, including Daniel Negreanu, and I also have my doubts about Patrick Antonius and Phil Ivey. I mean, take Phil Ivey, for example. I mean, I don't want to say something specific, but yeah, maybe you can read between the lines. There's a guy who is affiliated and heavy associated and in some business relationship with a site, Full Tilt. He wins at an insane rate on this side. Then Black Friday comes, and this site has to shut down. And this great player, maybe the greatest of all times, at least to media and others, now started to play on other sites like PokerStars, and where he is losing at the same rate where he was at which he was winning before. So this is sort of strange. Read between the lines and maybe you get what I... Okay, let's move on.
But even these players have tremendous swings throughout their careers. It's hard to calculate exactly how much these players win, since you have to factor in the buy-in, stakes, swaps, and other bets made throughout the year. Dan Bilzerian claims that he won $54 million of a single player, and Bryn Kenny famously became the highest earning player in history after having a phenomenal 2019.
I think Bryn Kenny actually might be a good one, but hard to judge. I think he's very good, most likely, but yeah, I think Dan Bilzerian is just bragging, and most of the things he says is just not true, and also all his Instagram stuff and it's all paid. And yeah, very hard to say what of the things he says is true and what is not. He also played some poker on stream and he was terrible. So yeah, I mean, there could be like private games where he might have an edge, but yeah, definitely not against top pros or mediocre pros or anyone who has any clue of poker. So yeah, he's definitely not one of the top guys, but if you manage to find even weaker guys, and if we want to play for huge amounts of cash, it could be true, theoretical, but I think he's just a dude who had an inheritance, so he got a lot of money when his dad died or something, and that's what he's living off, and he's not a poker pro or anything, so that's my take on it. And he is also involved in a lot of shady stuff, so if you want to find out more, just Google, or I think there are also videos on YouTube about that.
Bryn Kenny scored multiple 7-figure wins that year, and
he's also throwing porn stars from his roof, and apparently he wants to throw them into the pool, but this went wrong as well, and she landed not in the pool. So yeah, and he got sued. So just a side note.
And won a whopping $30.3 million in a single year. He now tops the chart with $56.4 million won in live tournaments. While the results may vary, there's no doubt that these guys are some of the best.
Isaac Hexton is a beast, by the way, as I saw him.
Players in the world, and have gotten there by working incredibly hard. Very few players can make it to this level, and there are struggles, hard times, and tons of trial and error on the way to the top. Things are getting tougher too.
Lol, Leon Zukarnik, he's also not a good player for sure.
In poker, you make money when your opponents make mistakes. There's more poker knowledge and coaching than ever before, and games are harder than they were just a few years ago. If you really want to reach the top tier these days, you're going to have to work even harder. Another rarely discussed yet very serious downside to being a professional poker player is that it causes you to greatly devalue money. If you compare a lawyer and a poker player who makes $500 an hour, the poker player will never have anywhere near as much value of the money as the lawyer does. The reason is simple. The lawyer makes $500 for every hour he or she works, so when he sees something that costs $1,000, he knows that he has to do 2 hours of work to earn enough to pay for it. For a professional poker player to average $500 per hour, he has to be playing fairly high-stake games in which you are winning and losing sums between $10,000 to $100,000.
Yeah, I think he's just talking bullshit. I mean, these are just swings. If you're making $500 an hour, doesn't matter if you have huge swings and be down like 100k but win 200k back the next day or something. Then on average you make 500k. I mean, it's more stressful and stuff, but yeah, for me it makes no difference. And yeah, if you are a poker pro for many years, it just doesn't matter. It becomes a part of the game. At least for me it's the case, but I know other people struggle and can't deal with these things that well. But yeah, for me it's the same. But the thing is just that nowadays you will not find enough high stakes games to make these rates, and you have to move down and play for like, I don't know, 50 or maybe 100 an hour when you are very good. So that's the thing. There are just no high stakes games running anymore. And this is not just because people got better, because it's very hard for fish to get money into the system nowadays. Regulation become a lot tougher, and yeah, you can just not cash in. They do AML, they ask for proof of wealth or whatever, and you have to send him basically your whole financial life. And if I'm a fish and I just want to play poker, I don't want to send all this stuff in and give it to PokerStars or whatever site. And the thing is, even when you send all this in, they might not accept it. So yeah, this is very annoying. Procedure and regulation become very hard. And also the land with the most fish, the country, the USA, is not in the global market anymore. So this makes things a lot more tough than it used to be. And yeah, the market is also fractured. More countries are not in there anymore. Germany, for example, they are somewhat still in, but no high stakes anymore. 1k deposit limit, and you have to pay insane taxes. I mean, so more and more countries get out there. I mean, another fenced market is the French one, and the Italians also are only allowed to play against other Italians. I think Spain has also something like that. So, and it used to be a global market where everyone could be playing against everyone, and that's not the case anymore. And it's also way harder to get money on the sides, so you can just not make $500 anymore, realistically. Only if you are one of the top tier pros that take very, very huge swings. So that's just not realistic anymore in my eyes. At least not in online poker. Maybe on some apps, if you manage to get in good rooms, or in some live private games where you somehow manage to get in as a pro, where only recreationals are in, but in online poker, very, very difficult.
On an hourly basis. When money comes and goes from your hands that quickly for longer periods of time, it basically becomes impossible to be frugal with your money.
Yeah, you have poker is this money is just a tool, so you have to use it to work with. But it's like in a firm, you also have to buy like if you do something, like let's say you produce whatever product. Let's say you produce computers, you have to buy all the microchips and the other stuffs that are needed to build the entire thing. And this also is like a huge investment, but it will pay off at some point. But you have to, in advance, pay like 500K, and then you get 1 million back or something. And that's how I view poker, and that's how entrepreneurs view things. And yeah, if you have a fixed hourly rate, and if you're not an entrepreneur, you usually also don't earn that much. I mean, it's hard as an employee to earn rates that are as high as the ones of professional players. Or let's take even more sick example, like Bill Gates or Elon Musk. These guys have hourly rates that are off the chart. And these guys are taking very, very big risks. And yeah, that's also what, if you don't take risk, you will not be able to have the same gains. That's as easy as it is. So yeah, essentially it's a big risk to not take any risks. This is a way bigger risk. So if you are staying on the safe side, working for others, this is working for others, not investing in risky assets. Risky in this case is also like stocks market and stuff. You will end up way, way worse than as if you would have taken risks. Because if you do it over a longer time horizon, at some point, the average and your EV will be what is achieved. And you could run bad for a few years, but at some point, all will even out and you will achieve your EV. And if your EV of investing in the stock market, for example, is like 5% a year per year, you will make it at some point. At least historical data tells you that. And yeah, this will also happen in poker. You cannot keep losing. At some point you will win and will get lucky as well. And yeah, that's why you have to take some risks. If you don't take any risks, then you will live you can get moderately wealthy, but not rich or something. I mean, you maybe can have your small house that you have to get a mortgage, which you pay like 30 years. And then you have like, I mean, you have to worry about money all the time and live sort of frugal. So if you want to be successful, you have to be an entrepreneur, self-employed, have a firm or something, or take other sort of risks, find things sort of out of the system, like playing poker, where you can make higher returns than that.
Most players will tell you that anything that costs less than $1,000 is completely...
On the topic of taking risk, although this has not that much to do with this video, I know a lot of people, some of them never played higher than mid stakes, but that which took a lot of risk. We were like very confident that Bitcoin will do very well. And then they hodled for like whatever, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. And now these guys are millionaires by making this decision. And that's a very good example of, yeah, you have to take risk. Although Bitcoin is not, I mean, Bitcoin turned out to be very well, but at this point, it was impossible to see that this has such a huge expectation. So this was too risky. But if you talk about investing in the stock market or something, then you also would have done way better than just putting your money on a high yield account or high interest account or however it's called. Because nowadays this will mean like 0.1% interest or 0%. And yeah, so you have to take risks. Otherwise, the inflation will devalue your money over time. And if you take some risk, but you don't even have to be taking enormous risks, then you will do well over the long run. You just have to have a time horizon that's long enough. Yeah, and that's the same with poker. So investing in poker have a lot of similarities and things in common. So a good poker player will most likely be a good investor too.
Irrelevant, and that they don't even give a second thought to purchasing it. This is because purchases less than that have no emotional impact on them. It feels like it's free. As players mature over the years and learn from their mistakes with handling.
I think that's not true. But we guys who treat their money like this are just idiots. I never were acting like this, but maybe this is because many poker players made a lot of money at a very young age, like they just turned 18 or something, or even started illegally with 16 years old, and they were making tons and tons of money at a very young age, and their character wasn't built well enough yet, and they just didn't knew how to handle all this money. But for people a bit older and a bit more experienced, going through life a few more years often treated their wealth quite well. So not all poker players are like this, but yeah, definitely some. But this is also with entrepreneurs, which got lucky, made a lot of money, and they like to spew and have a very exorbitant lifestyle. And that's okay, but yeah, I think you also should save some and yeah, keep some money for the future or for bad times. But yeah, a lot of people don't do that. But that's obviously irresponsible, and these people exist in the poker world and also in the normal world, so to speak.
Money, they often become better in this regard, but it's always going to be a challenge and problem to some extent. If you're going to play poker for a living, you need to be constantly evaluating what types of games will provide the highest hourly win rate for your unique set of abilities and experience. One serious mistake that many professional players make is that they find a game they can win at and then only play that type of game month after month and year after year. The poker landscape changes constantly, and games that used to be easy money are practically unbeatable for significant amounts of money these days. Every person who plays poker has a limit, the level at which no matter how much work they put in, it will be the highest level of stakes they're capable of beating. Most players never reach their limit because few players work as hard as they can to improve for longer periods of time. Every couple of years, there is a massive turnover in the regulars playing at particular level of stakes. Most of the regulars in the 5-10 games running 2 years ago are now playing 2-4 or lower or have completely left the game. There are some, though, who have the ability and work ethic to continue winning.
I think left the game also is like a wrong expression, because not many are good enough and honest enough to themselves to say, okay, I'm just not good enough anymore, I have to quit. I know a lot of people who lost most of the money they made prior to this just back to other guys. So be very careful. And if you are not beating the game anymore, be careful and quit in time before it's too late. And yeah, you definitely have to put in a lot of work. But I think actually it's a lot easier nowadays to get good, as there are all these solvers and stuff. And you don't have to, I mean, it's just easy. You put in situation A and you get the game theoretical optimal answer, or at least close to it. So, and back in the day, there was no solver and you have to do the math on your own, and it was way harder to get good. And there it was a lot more, there was a lot more skill involved back in the day, where you had to figure things out on your own and put in the hours and the work. And nowadays it's not like that anymore. Everyone is just like, okay, the solver does that, so let's do that. I mean, this obviously also is not a good approach, as people are no machines and often divide a lot from the solver strategy. But it's if you just do what the solver suggests always, you will be the top, a very good player for sure. I mean, against fish, you will not optimize your EV, but against the Rex, you will do very, very well. And even if against the fish, I mean, it's optimal play. There's no strategy to beat that, but if someone plays a suboptimal strategy, it's better to adapt to that and play optimal against the suboptimal strategy, and you could probably make a lot more. But it's still a winning strategy. Don't forget that. But I think that's also a main league of players. They just don't adjust to opponents anymore. They are just like, oh, the solver says that, so I do that. And no more thinking about it and saying, okay, this opponent is not playing game theory optimal. Actually, this spot he's way off and I have to do something different. People just don't do it anymore, or not enough. Or they are just not, I think many are also not able to analyze it properly because they never learned. They just had the solver, and the solver always gives them the so-called correct answer, and they just follow it. So that's also stupid, but people are like that. And these guys will also do way worse in like these home games where people are very, very bad. Because when you do the solver things in this game of poker, you obviously not playing optimal given the style your opponents play. You have to do major adjustments, but they would still win, but they could make like tenfold of that if they use a different style. But they would be still winners. So it's bad, but still winning. And poker definitely got insanely hard over the years. And I remember so many people playing poker, and I think if I would have made this videos like a few years back in time, I would have an audience like 10 times bigger or even more. And nowadays, no one gives a shit anymore because it's so hard. And if you are intelligent, there are most likely better ways to make money than going to poker nowadays, to be honest.
At the same stakes they have been beating as the games got tougher, but the majority of the professional players reach their limit and then their income goes down as the games become more difficult to beat over time. A very common mistake that players make is moving up the stakes whenever they run good for a short period of time and win several buy-ins.
This is just basic bankroll management, and if you are a pro, you will not be that stupid. And also for me, major thing always was game selection. I didn't care how big the game was. I just wanted to have a huge fish or two in the game so that I could be sure that I would make a lot of money. And if there's no fish, I don't care. I don't play the highest stakes, and also don't play mid stakes if there's no fish. I mean, maybe I got an edge against the Rex, but it's small and it's not worth my time to even try. I want to make a decent hourly, and if there are no fish, this is just not possible.
Most of the time, they aren't prepared to beat the tougher games at higher stakes, and they end up losing a significant amount of money in games that they have no business playing in. Also, if you play poker for a significant amount of time, at some point, you'll be cheated, colluded against, or robbed. It happens much less these days
I think it still happens a lot, but people got very smart and don't get caught. And yeah, it happened to me also. Made a video about that. I mean, I can't be 100%, but I'm like 99% that on Winning Poker Network, I played the 25-50 games a lot, and I also had always had great EV, but was constantly losing and losing and losing also over a bit sample. I think this was due to collusion and the other racks, knowing the whole cards of each other and colluding against me. But now I'm smarter. And I also stopped at one point, and I just was like, I don't know what's going on, but I might get cheated. The reality is I can't win. If it's just unlucky, then it is what it is. But I'm not risking my money here anymore because I suspect something is going on. And I also talked to 2 other guys and got the information from others, heard the same story. So I think that's pretty likely, especially as I also heard the same thing from others. I also had another thing where I was getting cheated. This is a cheat not that well known. By the way, watch my cheat videos where I showed a ton of cheats, most likely also many you don't know about. And you should watch this for sure. And this is a very, very mean cheat that was used against me. It's what is it called? Ddos Attack. So someone throws a lot of data on your internet connection, and at some point it breaks down. And the trick is to get you to commit almost all your money, but make it so that you have almost no money left in stake, and then make the guy lose his internet connection. And usually you will not make it back in time. And then this guy just wins the pot by pushing the rest all in, and you just can't come back and click the call button. So this happened to me once, but luckily I read about this thing before, and I was like, okay, that's happening to me now. And I just stopped playing the dude. But it also was on iPoker, and it's very hard to it still is very hard to don't get crushed this way. I mean, it's not that hard anymore because there are no, I think there are still heads-up tables there, but there's no 5100 anymore. I mean, this cheat happened to me on 5100, so 10k buy-in. And now they are not the same amounts on stake anymore. But it's still very profitable on iPoker, I guess. Because they have no decent disconnect protection. And you will just not be able to get back in time. And you will have no chance against that for sure. And the thing on iPoker is there are like a million skins, and people can just join you with other usernames, and they will fuck you over again and again and again. Because on all the skins, they can make a new account, and then they fuck you again and again and again. And they always take like a few $100. So this is just the way it is, and it's very hard to combat. And also iPoker security department is like shit, and most racks most likely will not even complain or inform them when it happens to them, because they think, oh, my internet is just bad today, I have to quit for the day. But in reality, we just got fucked over.
And it used to happen in the past, but it still continues to happen in both live and online settings. It's a reality that you have to come in terms with.
I also think people underestimate how much and how easy they can get cheated live. Maybe I should make a video about that. Please comment and let me know if you think I should do so. If enough people want to see that, I might do it. I mean, low chance that people are doing that actually, but I might do it. People think they are safe when they play live, but I can tell you it's definitely not true. There are even more ways to get cheated live than online, I think. there are also like many people. I know of cheaters that, for example, play at the local casino, play like shit, and then they lure you to join them on their hotel room or stuff. And they are, if they can shuffle, they are professional cheaters. And how are these guys called? Yeah, like card magicians or something. So they can stack the deck against you, and yeah, you will have no chance anymore. So be very careful.
Common of these occurrences is collusion, and it's usually very hard to detect. Fortunately, it's also the least detrimental and isn't something that most players need to spend much time worrying.
Real-time assistance, by the way, is also a huge thing nowadays, and also almost not detectable. Yeah, watch my videos about that. I have quite a few. Yeah.
There are a million other ways that a player can be cheated. However, in the vast majority of games these days, there is no cheating, so it rarely has a devastating impact on a professional player's career. The key is to make yourself aware of ways that you can be cheated and to constantly be aware of the things you see happening at the tables.
Very true.
The rarest yet most serious of these things is being robbed. I don't know exactly what the percentages of players that have got...
Yeah, also a thing that's way more risky than in a live setting. Because, yeah, when you leave the casino, someone can just, at gunpoint, ask you to give them your stack of cash. And, yeah, I guess your life is worth more than the winnings you just made, so you will hand it to them.
Gotten robbed at some point in their careers, but it's not that high. If you love the game and have the talent to succeed, then none of these things should discourage you from playing poker for a living. The bottom line is that even though there are some negative aspects, it can be a very rewarding and enjoyable career. Just keep in mind, it's a hard way to make an easy living. This video is...
Yeah, I think if you're intelligent and have a good educational background, it's probably not the most EV line to play poker these days. But yeah, if you really enjoy the game, or if you come from a country, for example, where the cost of living is way lower and you will not be able to make a lot of money doing a normal, let's say normal job, let's call it this way, then it might be worth it to do a career as poker player. Also, don't forget, if you choose to be a poker player today, what is it called even? I need to find out what the English word for this is. Give me a second. Deutsch erkannt. Okay, one moment. Okay, resume. Oh, resume. Would have no. So the translator gave me the word curriculum vitae is what he says, but let's say resume. Your resume will go to shit if you play a few years poker. You will not be able to pursue a normal career afterwards, so it will be very hard. So be aware of this fact when you decide to play poker for a living. So yeah, this is something you have to think about. Yeah, I think we don't want to see from whom we are sponsored, and I think this will be told now. So yeah, thanks for this video. Yeah, I think you got a lot of input from me today. I hope this was helpful. I myself, if I didn't know it yet, would probably like it, but yeah. Just let me know in the comments if this was helpful or not. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. As always, thanks for watching. Press all these good, healthy buttons that you should push on social media if you enjoyed it. And if you made it this far, you probably got something out of this. Yeah. Good luck at the tables. Bye-bye until next time.